your Vice Chancellor to say that there needs to be a meeting, particularly with the colleges here in the province, so that we can strengthen the relationship between the colleges. Over to you, sir. Thank you very much. Welcome. Why are you tired?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rishi Balkaran. I'm the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Learning and Teaching at CPUT. So I will cover, and thank you very much, Saski, for inviting me. It's a great honor to be here. I will cover a few aspects from the, just basically observing the key essential areas that were covered in the presentations. So the first one around the, just around employability and around the survey that Dr. Ajiboye spoke about. And so, you know, one could see the span of the survey that has been carried out, and of what's noteworthy there is that 30% of the graduates were unemployed. So after having graduated, you know, you were unemployed. And then, you know, subsequent to that, a lot of discussion entailed issues around work-integrated learning. And I think we've got to be very careful about trying to associate work-integrated learning and employability. It's a problematic way to do that, because if we find that kids are unemployed, we suddenly realize that there's something wrong with the work-integrated learning. But it's the essential, we have to ask ourselves, what is the essential aspect around work-integrated learning? And really, work-integrated learning is to enhance the qualification that the student is in. So when they go and train at a particular outlet, the purpose of the training is to enhance the qualification, to complete the qualification. If the person is unemployed, it doesn't speak to the work-integrated learning, it speaks to the qualification. And possibly the qualification may not necessarily be relevant to the economy. So we've got to be very careful about that analysis. So work-integrated learning, as another previous speaker spoke about, the whole pair concept, it is about a pedagogy. Really, that's what it is. So it's something that I just thought that it's important for us to draw those parallels. I think the important point about her that she made is about the relevance of the qualification. And of course, the relevance of the qualification being the fact that it has to be, kind of relevant to the economy, relevant to what is currently taking place at that point in time. So if universities and entities that are producing the qualification is not relevant, you will have a problem invariably. The other area that needs to be researched is just how many students who get into employment are really linked to the qualification they ended up doing. And many of us, including myself, you start out with a particular qualification and you end up somewhere else in the industry. So it's really, something that we have to think about, what it is that sparks that. And then over and above that, what is it that ensures that students have the capability? And the speaker spoke about work preparedness. It's an important concept, and I think it's important for us to embrace that within the curriculum. And she covered the area around curriculum design. I think that's an important part, and how work-integrated learning is factored within curriculum design. It's an important part. It's an intentional one, and I think we have to think about that within the entities that we exist, whether it's a university, a UOT, and so on. Mr. Tofi's, thank you very much for that presentation. I think it was very interesting, and I think it's important that government is the highest employer, and whether it is at provincial, whether it's at national, or whether it is at local government level. So it's important for us to kind of think about how government creates opportunities for students to practice and to become part of the work-integrated learning program. There is, and there are opportunities, and I know that, but I think there should be more. Mr. Tofi spoke about the involvement, the city's involvement with universities and with the programs. For example, CHEK. I'm one of the directors on CHEK, the Cape Higher Education Consortium. Part of the research that we are engaging in CHEK is the dual Hochschule system, part of the dual higher education. It's very different to work-integrated learning. And part of the dual Hochschule system in Germany is about how companies take charge of students. So before they get into universities, they come for an interview to a particular company, for example, Bosch. Bosch will then ensure that they will place you there for 3 years. But whilst you're there for the 3 years, you will be working at Bosch, and you will be going to the university or college, and of course, earning your grades. And of course, when you do then qualify, you will then come and work at Bosch, at least for a minimum of 3 years, before you think about doing anything else. So that's the kind of dual Hochschul system that Czech is actually working with, and it's something that we think is very promising for employability within the economy. I think that for all entities, and I speak on the fact that all entities, all local governments, all provincial governments throughout the various provinces need to embrace the fact that we need to take on more students. There were a couple of other points that were covered around, for example, the point about articulation. Mr. Beach covered that point. I think that, so at CPUT, for example, and I agree with you, we just covered articulation between TVET colleges and the UOTs, and of course at an IT level. And we've kind of seen the value of that. And so we've opened that up, and perhaps next year you will see our applied science faculty, including our engineering faculty, now opening up articulation pathways for TVET college students. And of course, what happens is that students can then complete a higher certificate that's quality assured by the UOT, delivered at the TVET college, and of course, if a student then gets certain grades, he or she could then articulate into the diploma, and of course get credits as well for that, and then continue with the studies if they wish to take that path. 2 minutes. So I think that, colleagues, the important part there is that for other UOTs and for other TVETs that are part and parcel of maybe from other provinces, there is the UPSET project that is taking place, and I see Professor Reddy here, Professor Nduna. You could chat perhaps later on, because that project is a national-based project that speaks to articulation of TVET colleges into higher education. I think that's an important one. And the child really has the base knowledge, the knowledge assumed to be in place before they get into the UOT. And they actually finish in minimum time the qualifications quicker than students who come from straight out of matric. So there's serious benefit in that. I think that the last point I want to make, and that this point was made earlier on by one of the speakers, who spoke about having kind of a more intentional, more structured approach to how we engage with industry. And I think that for all universities and colleges, etc., and so on, there has to be an apparatus that exists within the university or within your structure that takes care of how we liaise with industry, that we have advisory boards, that there's a very clear relationship between industry and what happens in the curriculum. And of course, our relationship with our students with that industry as well. And I think the closer we have engagements with industry, the more structured approach we have to that, the more intentional we become to seeing the relevance of what our qualification has to how students are employed, and therefore improve employability. Thank you very much, and I'll be happy to take questions if there are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Colleagues, now is a time for questions. We will only take, let me just look at the time, 3 questions, because I've been given an extra 5 minutes. Any questions? I know it's later in the day. Yeah, these lights, when you are here, you can probably, when you leave the stage, you can struggle a little bit. I don't see any hand. I'm not sure whether I am happy about that or whether you did a good job in your presentation. On that note, then, we want to thank you for your presentation. I think you've made it very clear. As a result, there are no question, or perhaps the attendees are tired because it's been a long day. Can we give our three presenters a big round of applause? Thank you very much.